Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're talking about a silent invasion happening along coastlines all over the world. It's not an army or an alien species. It's something much more fundamental: saltwater. On picturesque coastal farms, where much of our food is grown, seawater is steadily seeping into the freshwater sources that crops and communities depend on. This phenomenon, called saltwater intrusion, is a creeping crisis accelerated by climate change and posing a direct threat to global food security. But there's hope, and it comes from a surprisingly high-tech place: a new field called Agro-Informatics. The fusion of agriculture and information technology is giving us the tools to fight back. Today, we'll explore this salty scourge and the data-driven revolution that aims to stop it. Let's dive in. First, what exactly is saltwater intrusion? In any coastal area, there's a natural meeting point between the fresh water flowing from rivers and underground aquifers and the salt water from the ocean. Think of it as a constant, invisible battle. The fresh water, being less dense, typically floats on top of the denser salt water, and its outward pressure keeps the sea at bay. This delicate balance is described by something called the Gibbon-Hertzberg relation. In simple terms, it means that for every 1 foot of fresh water you see above sea level, there are about 40 feet of it sitting below sea level, pushing down on the salt water. This means a small drop in the freshwater table can cause a massive rise in the saltwater interface below, allowing it to push much further inland. So what's tipping this balance? The first major driver is sea level rise. As our planet warms, glaciers melt and ocean water expands. This rising sea level acts like a bully, physically pushing the saltwater interface further into our coastal freshwater supplies. The second, and perhaps most significant human-caused driver, is the over-extraction of groundwater. Coastal regions are often densely populated, and we pump enormous amounts of fresh water out of the ground for our homes, industries, and especially for agriculture. When we pump too much, too fast, we lower that freshwater table, the pressure drops, and the denser salt water rushes in to fill the void. It's like drinking from a straw too quickly and sucking up the stuff at the bottom of the glass. Then there are extreme weather events. Hurricanes and cyclones, which are becoming more frequent and intense, can create powerful storm surges. These surges can literally flood vast areas of low-lying farmland with seawater, causing rapid and widespread contamination of both the surface soil and the shallow groundwater. Even natural tidal fluctuations and seasonal changes play a role. During high tides or dry seasons with less rainfall, the freshwater flow weakens, giving saltwater an opportunity to creep further up rivers and estuaries. Add in factors like land subsidence, where the ground itself sinks, and man-made changes like deep shipping channels that create new highways for saltwater, and you have a perfect storm for a saline invasion. So salt gets into the soil and water, what's the big deal? Well, for agriculture, it's devastating. Salt is a silent killer of crops, methodically destroying the very foundation of farming. The first major impact is soil salinization. When saltwater accumulates, the sodium chloride changes the soil itself. High concentrations of sodium cause soil particles to break apart, destroying its structure. Fluffy, healthy soil becomes compacted and hard, like a brick. This makes it difficult for plant roots to grow and for water to drain, leading to waterlogged, airless conditions. Excess sodium also displaces essential nutrients, like calcium and potassium, starving the plants of what they need to thrive. The second major impact is direct damage to the crops. This happens in two ways. First, through osmotic stress. High salt levels in the soil make it harder for plants to absorb water through their roots. The plant is essentially surrounded by water it can't drink. This is often called physiological drought. The plant can be wilting in moist soil because the water is simply too salty. Second, there is ionic toxicity. The sodium and chloride ions themselves are toxic to most plants in high concentrations. They interfere with metabolism, damage cell membranes, and can lead to visible symptoms like burnt leaf tips and tissue death. Crop tolerance to salt varies wildly. Crops like rice, corn, and strawberries are extremely sensitive and can fail with even a little salt. Others, like barley or cotton, are more tolerant, but even they have their limits. As salinization spreads, farmers are forced to abandon their traditional, often profitable crops for alternatives that might not be as marketable, or abandon their land altogether. This leads to devastating economic and social consequences. Farmers lose their income, leading to debt and hardship. Generational farms are abandoned, and rural communities decline. On a larger scale, this threatens our food security. Coastal agriculture is a massive contributor to the world's food supply. Losing this productive land puts a strain on local, regional, and even national food systems. It's a crisis that ripples through the entire agricultural value chain. In the face of this mounting threat, Agro-Informatics offers a beacon of hope. This is where big data meets the farm. It's the application of information science and technology to solve agricultural problems. It provides a powerful toolkit for monitoring, predicting, and managing saltwater intrusion with incredible precision. One of the core components is remote sensing and geographic information systems, or GIS. Think of it as having eyes in the sky. Satellites equipped with special sensors can scan vast coastal landscapes. They can detect subtle changes in vegetation health, soil moisture, and even estimate soil salinity from space. By analyzing data like the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, or NDVI, scientists can pinpoint areas where crops are under stress, often before it's visible to the naked eye. GIS then acts as a digital mapping tool on steroids. It allows us to layer all kinds of spatial data, elevation, soil types, groundwater levels, salinity measurements from the satellites, to create detailed risk maps. These maps show exactly where the threat is greatest, helping to plan targeted interventions. While satellites provide the big picture, we also need data from the ground. This is where in-situ sensor networks come in. These are networks of sensors placed directly in the fields, wells, and rivers. They provide a continuous, real-time stream of data. Electrical conductivity sensors buried in the soil measure salinity second by second. Sensors in monitoring wells track the depth and salt content of the groundwater, giving an early warning if the saltwater interface is rising. These networks are often connected to the internet, creating an Internet of Things for the farm. This allows for automated data collection that can be accessed from anywhere. Now we have a flood of data from both the sky and the ground. This is where data analytics and machine learning become crucial. Sophisticated algorithms sift through these massive data sets to identify patterns and trends. They can analyze historical data to understand precisely what drives saltwater intrusion in a specific location, and, more importantly, they can build predictive models. These models can forecast where and when saltwater intrusion is likely to occur under different scenarios, like a major storm or a period of drought. This allows for the creation of early warning systems that can alert farmers days or even weeks in advance, giving them precious time to take protective measures, like closing floodgates or storing fresh water. All this information ultimately empowers what we call precision agriculture. Instead of treating an entire farm uniformly, farmers can use this data to make targeted, precise interventions. For example, variable rate irrigation allows a farmer to apply fresh water strategically, only to the small patches of a field that have higher salinity, to help leach the salts away from the root zone without wasting water. These technologies are brought together in decision support systems. These are essentially software applications, often on a phone or tablet, that act as a farmer's smart assistant. It might recommend the best time to irrigate, suggest the most suitable, salt-tolerant crops for a specific field, or provide guidance on improving soil health. This isn't just theory. It's happening right now. In the Mekong Delta of Vietnam, one of the world's most productive but vulnerable regions, remote sensing and sensor data are used to operate sluice gates, protecting thousands of farms from saline water. In the Netherlands, a country with centuries of experience in water management, A dense network of sensors provides real-time data for sophisticated models that precisely control water levels across the nation. In coastal Bangladesh, GIS mapping is helping to introduce salt-tolerant rice varieties to the most at-risk areas. And in California's Pajaro Valley, sensor data from rivers and even ocean buoys informs a managed aquifer recharge program where they intentionally pump fresh water back into the ground to hold back the sea. Agro-Informatics provides the data to develop smarter strategies. Managed aquifer recharge, or MAR, can be targeted to the most effective locations. Irrigation can be optimized to use every drop of fresh water efficiently. Farmers can be guided towards sustainable practices, like improving soil health with compost or using precision land leveling to improve drainage. This data also provides the hard evidence needed for better policy. When you can show policymakers a map that clearly visualizes the economic and agricultural land that will be lost under a do-nothing scenario, it becomes a powerful catalyst for action. From regulating groundwater extraction to investing in climate-resilient infrastructure. Of course, the road ahead isn't without challenges. The cost of these technologies can still be a barrier for small farmers. In many parts of the world, there are significant gaps in the long-term data needed to build accurate models. And there's a need for more technical expertise to bridge the gap between scientists and the farmers on the ground. However, the future is bright. The cost of technology is falling rapidly. Advances in AI are making predictive models more powerful and accessible. And the rise of open-source data and collaborative online platforms is helping to get this critical information into the hands of those who need it most. Saltwater intrusion is a complex, insidious threat, a silent tide pushed by the immense forces of climate change and our own water use. But we are not helpless. Agro-Informatics has emerged as a game-changing ally. It allows us to see the unseen, understand the complex, and predict the future. It empowers a shift from being reactive victims to proactive stewards of our coastal lands. The fusion of data and the delta isn't just a scientific curiosity, it's an essential strategy for survival, ensuring that our coastal farms can continue to thrive and feed our world for generations to come. Thanks for tuning in to Fun Facts Online.